Bear Bear.
Hey, Bean.
Say hi.
Hey, this is Matt O'Leary, and I have been preparing for my comprehensive exam for graduate school, which is this week. So it's been really hard to get around to reviews and pretty difficult to pick out of so many good albums that have come out in the month of February. I decided to go with the 9th studio album from the Australian psych masters King Gizzard and the Lizard Wizard with a album name almost as wacky as their own. It's Flying Microtonal Banana. So many bands nowadays seem to take 3 or 4 years to release an album, which is understandable in a sense, but when you're a hardcore fan of a band, it can be difficult to stomach. And even more frustrating because you understand the lengthy process of releasing an album, and then you gotta tour for a long time, and then you go back into the writing process, and then it's the recording, which takes a long time, production, then you tease the thing for a while, and inevitably it's just gonna be a while. But King Gizzard, on the other hand, seemed to just take all that and just jam it in all at once. It's like they've magically unlocked another 3 or 4 hours in the day. You'd think with so many albums released, you lose a little bit of that exciting anticipation that comes when you tease a record almost a year out. But it isn't lost. This band garners more hype for each release than I've seen with just about any other band. I mean, people go nuts for these guys. And with their steady record of 2 releases per year and a whopping 5 albums promised for this year alone, I can't help but feeling that this is how a band should be. I mean, constantly creating and progressing. Even on tour, it seems like they're writing new music all of that time, which is just crazy to think about. I mean, this is not just a project for this band. King Gizzard is their life. So obviously, I got a ton of respect for this band. I think what they're doing is just incredible, and they seem to just keep getting better every year. So the band received this Microtonal custom-made guitar as a gift, and I think that kind of inspired the whole theme behind this album as they set out to microtonalize every single instrument on the album, and I think they had a pretty low budget as well. And this gives the tracks this unsettling dissonance as they're purposely playing notes in between a half step apart. So a half step, what is that? Well, you can think of the Jaws theme, that da-na, 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 so that very close together notes, that's the closest that in Western music notes get together. So they're playing notes in between that space, so it's very tight. It sounds just like a slide, and to an ear that's just steeped in that Western music tradition, where that isn't highlighted, this music can sound wonky. It can sound just out of tune. But you hear that microtonal piece right away on the opener, Rattlesnake, with those dusty piano interludes. Then it comes in again at the 4-minute mark with that grotesque vocal ascension and that screaming guitar that matches it an octave above. And this Eastern sound with the blaring horns and everything really matches their sound as a band pretty well, because they're often just jamming on one chord. And if you listen to Indian music with the sitar, it's played the same way. I mean, they're just droning on one chord. And the band did this all the time on Nodding on Infinity or I'm in Your Mind Fuzz. The cool thing about it, though, is that it doesn't sound austere. It doesn't sound grave or sober like a lot of Eastern music can. Instead, it's fun. It's, lighthearted and infectious. No other band I've heard gives such naturally intense music such a goofy spin. And this microtonal tuning is evident on certain tracks like the wailing blues of Doom City or the rock and roll raga of Billabong Valley. I love how that one transitions from this driving beat to this slower, lilting trot after the hand drum at around the 1-minute 20-second mark. And how impressive is Ambrose Kenny Smith's voice on that song? It's just striking. There are some times when they don't completely sell this microtonal idea. I'm left just wanting even more experimentation or just a bolder presentation of that atonality. The atonal aspects are so subtle on a song like Open Water that when they do pop up, it sounds like they're just singing flat or sharp, and it's just distracting. But then again, I'm never completely bought into these overarching themes or grand narratives behind their albums. Like the continuous loop thing on Nonagon Infinity. I love that album, but really all you need to do to make that infinite claim is to have the last track lead in well to the first track and be in the same tempo. And on this album, the horns and the guitar solos come in to just remind you of that theme, it seems like. But a lot of times on those songs, the core riffs and melodies aren't as memorable, aren't as engaging. In songs like Anoxia or Open Water, they don't seem to accomplish anything totally fresh for the band. It just makes me want to go back and listen to when they did these sounds even better. Also, this album is cohesive as a whole, I think. It is one, singular experience or tone. But I don't walk away with as many highlights or, those moments as I have with their past albums. I can't pick out one or two songs that I think are the best. I keep comparing this to their old stuff, which in a sense is a little unfair. If I hold them to their own standard, I think this one comes up a little bit short for me. The microtonal thing is spottily executed, and the steady 4/4 grooves and riffs feel a little bit too familiar or similar to old songs at times. But if I look at this in the context of indie music or psych rock overall, it's outstanding. Nuclear Fusion, that song with its heavily acidic vocals that support that whole toxic radiation apocalypse thing they're going for. Or Doom City, a track that alternates between this Black Sabbath heavy metal and these chipper upbeat verses. And there's this menacing laugh thrown in there to kind of lead you back into that metal riff. I think for fans of the band, this is another success. It may not be as powerful as Nonagon Infinity or as, poppy and pleasant as Paper Mache Dream Balloon or as jazzy as Quarters, but it's got its own thing going on, and all the classic elements of the band are there. But if you still haven't heard this band, come on, what are you doing, man? Start with I'm in Your Mind Fuzz or Oddments. I don't think this one's going to completely hook in the newcomer, but it's a solid 7 out of 10 for me. Let me know what you think, and thank you so much for watching.